Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breakfast Gatorchatter following the Miami game. What are we, 4 games in now? You'll notice I'm in a different studio today. I'm in Gainesville visiting my parents. Got to watch the game with them, I guess, if you want to call it a game. My father went to bed at halftime, and I should have joined him. Didn't blame him. Um, Slowly but surely, our viewership has gone down week by week. I don't take that personally, but the product has continued to go downhill, and Gator apathy is might be at an all-time high. And in watching the game last night uh, with my mom and dad, and we sat and we watched mainly in silence, not saying a whole lot, because we had no expectations of winning the game. And worst of all, had we won the game, that might have extended Billy Napier's tenure. So you're sitting there in a terrible situation. This is not really what sports are supposed to be about. And it struck me last night. This is the fourth time in 11 years that we've been in this situation. We have a terrible coach at the end of his tenure, treading water until he gets the axe. So you're in this situation where you don't really want them to win because you want them to be gone. It's miserable. I really don't even know why we're watching right now. Here it is, 4 times in 11 years. And getting up this morning, and I actually turned it off with 2 minutes left and found out that Miami scored again in the last 2 minutes. So I didn't even know the final score when I went to bed. But um, the big, kind of the big takeaway that I saw online this morning when I got up was that Billy Napier isn't even necessarily to blame anymore. It's Scott Strickland's baby. He's let it go on. He's letting it go on. Uh, the embarrassments. There's an embarrassment of riches right now, and Scott Strickland has the power to do something about it. He's not doing anything about it. Whether or not he will remains to be seen, but of course he's gone back into hiding, which is what he does when things get tough. And I don't know if he's going to pop up here soon, or we're going to have to wait till the season continues to roll on. Now, before the game this week, I put out a poll on basically how much do you think Miami will win by, or will Florida win? And 88% of pollsters, these are Gator fans, said that Miami would win by 11 points or more. 88%. 4% said the Gators would win. And that's the kind of confidence that our fan base has in the team right now. And it was kind of a similar story, except that somehow the offense continues almost to get worse, which doesn't really seem possible. So we've got 3 touchdowns in 3 games. Florida had no first downs last night for the first time since 2016, I believe. They converted no third downs for the first time since 2016. I think they did manage a few first downs on 61 yards passing. I mean, you look at this box score, and it's almost physically painful to look at. As Florida falls to 1-3 for the first time since 1986. Um, in 1986, I was collecting garbage pail kids. It was it was a long time ago. And here's another stat: Billy Napier falls to 3-12 in rivalry games. 3-12. And Billy Napier, the defense has continued to play pretty well. The defense has played well enough to keep us winning. This is about the offense, and of course, Billy Napier decided to die on that hill where he was going to call plays. He wasn't going to turn it over, and here he is dying on the hill. And I can't. I mentioned this last week, but I can't help from wonder that when Billy is mercifully fired, he's out of the building. If things won't change immediately, once you get this play caller out of the building, let anyone else call plays. Are we going to see an immediate difference? You know, we have a bye week here. There's no reason to keep Billy. Billy should be let go today or tomorrow. It's over. It doesn't matter who the interim is. Anybody. Let's get him out of the building. Let someone else call plays. and let's all get on board with the interim and try to enjoy the rest of the season and maybe work on some upsetting some people because this Gator team can beat some teams. I think it's obvious when watching these games that the Gators are hamstrung, but they got plenty of talent. They got enough talent to beat these teams. And LSU and Miami certainly didn't look like world beaters the last 2 weeks. Maybe Florida's defense made them look that way, but they've got mediocre quarterbacking. Beck he wasn't as bad as Lagway, but you look at what you saw and you say to yourself, Miami's not really they're not a national title contending team. But again, this is more about Scott Strickland at this point. What's he going to do? Nothing? Can he sit back and do nothing? Fewest yards per play in a game since 1986. Now, I wasn't a Gator fan in 1986, but I'm guessing that the offense was pretty bad that year. Someone else pointed out also this morning that when Miami had a field goal attempt, that we only had 10 players on the field. So, yet again, a perfect example of what continues to happen in Billy's fourth year. Inexcusable personnel decisions, inexcusable play calling. 4th and 3, and we're throwing 2 yards, that kind of thing. So before we get, I'm just going to bring in Jason Walker and turn him loose and get his reaction to the game. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I will continue to be here, Aaron, much like yourself, because we're Gator fans. Like you described, we're incredibly resilient. 4 times in 11 seasons. And, I hate to tell people that don't have the gray hair that I have, and I know a lot of the folks watching are, we've seen bad times before, for sure. You mentioned one of them, 86. And, I can even point to 88, even with the great, when Emmitt Smith got hurt. This team was in the dumper. The Auburn game in 89. The Muschamp years with Treon. We've seen some bad offenses before out there. And we saw it again last night. This offense joins the lexicon of terrible offenses in Gator history. Congratulations to Billy Napier. You've done it, sir. You've taken the Gatorade Player of the Year and managed to get 25 yards of offense out of them in the first half. Congratulations on that. Not many folks can do it. I mean, if that isn't a moment of clarity for Billy Napier when he goes into halftime with, almost just taking snaps on offense. If one of those moments like in the movies, Aaron, where they go, wait a minute, am I the bad guy here? Yes. Yes, you are, sir. You are the bad guy here. But ultimately, Aaron, there's no urgency from the head coach to win. There's no urgency for excellence. There's no sting to the losses. You go back to his introductory presser, and we probably should have seen the red flags there. He kept saying how much time it was going to take. It's going to take time. And he's got a ton of it. It should have been a big red flag about his sense of urgency at the University of Florida. And I know we're not supposed to live in the past, Aaron. I know we're not supposed to, but we do learn from it. And Steve Spurrier nearly quit the program after what he titled an unforgivable, embarrassing loss to Nebraska, the title game. The losses killed him. After every loss, he would say, you remember what he'd say? Yeah, well, we just didn't coach him up well enough, We weren't all that great, But I guess we're a bunch of stupid folks over here on the coaching staff. He would blame himself endlessly, even if in his mind he knew it was a few bad apples. He fired everybody. He benched every quarterback. And then he did something he'd never done, Aaron. You remember this? He added the shotgun in order to win. He looked at himself and abandoned some of the things that he held dear. I'll never do that, or I won't do this. Why? Because there was an urgency to win. And there's none of that from Billy Napier, who thinks that someday, sometime, it'll all sort itself out. Folks will get lined up. Protections won't be bungled. It's the same old from him. And you look at his post-game comments, there's nothing technically incorrect about what he said. But it's the tone in which he said it. Gosh darn. What a team over there, huh? Our quarterback. He's battling through a unique offseason. Woo, man. It's the Pop Warner coach mentality. Play everybody, human building instead of winning. And he's let everybody down. That gigantic staff he has, all the people that swear by him and love him, he's let them all down. He's bet on himself over and over again to get this right eventually. And then he's doubled down again on himself doing better. And now he's busted. He's lost. And it's time for him to leave the table.
Well, no one can claim he was not given what he needed and the time he needed. You're not supposed to get worse as time goes on if you're building something. So here it is, his fourth year. There's no excuses left anymore. It's entirely his team. It's entirely his system. It's entirely his playbook. He doesn't have anything left. And there's no way Scott Strickland can look at the situation and think, he just needs more time. What is Scott Strickland going to do, Jason?
Well, honestly, I think and a lot of times folks like to take the path of least resistance. And as we've seen Scott Strickland do over and over again, you said it right in your opening comments. What does he do? When the going gets tough, he goes and hides. He runs away until he's absolutely sure he has to do something. The Mullen years were, there's a lot of revisionist history around Dan Mullen's tenure. The fact of the matter is he was 2-9 or something like that. Donkey put it out there. 2-9 in his last 11 Power 5 games. Ooh, that sucker was going right in the tank in there. Strickland hid until Mullen made it so he couldn't hide anymore. The embarrassment against South Carolina in there. I don't think that we've seen that level of embarrassment yet that would force Scott Strickland's hand, but it's coming. We know eventually he will take action when he's absolutely sure that he has to in there. And I don't think, even though we're already way past there, I think we still have, there's more embarrassment to endure before Strickland acts. I hope that's not the case, but I think that's what we've seen from his history.
I'm personally predicting that it happens after Mississippi State. So there's going to be another bye after Mississippi State. Honestly, Jason, I don't see us winning another game. And whether we beat or lose to Mississippi State, that's my prediction. Now, I'm hoping it's today. Maybe I'm wrong. But part of me thinks that I'm also being naive, and it'll be either at the end of the season or not at all. But you and I, how long can we just sit here and talk about the same thing over and over?
Well, I mean, we'll have to until he does. I mean, there's nothing else to say. But let's remember that he had Mullen. Mullen played one final card before he was dismissed, and that was the dismissal of Todd Grantham. So maybe he tells Billy today, you got to fire your offensive coordinator or you can't keep coaching. And we know what Billy would say, and maybe that'll be the thing that'll push him over the edge, or maybe Billy will wake up this morning with that moment of clarity, knowing he's let everybody down, and do it. But otherwise, I think you're right. I think the second bye is the most natural place to dismiss Napier if nothing changes until then, which there's no reason to believe it will.
If Billy had actually hired a real OC in the offseason, which he should have done, he would have had a fall guy, right? If a coach wants to keep his job, hire a fall guy. It gives you a get out of jail free card for a while. But he didn't. You can't fire the defensive coordinator because the defense is playing pretty good. And everyone knows he's calling the plays. So, firing the OC is hilarious. He's got nothing left. But, oh, man, we are in serious trouble with Scott Strickland just kind of floating around there. He has no boss really to hold him accountable.
Well, that was my rant last week, Aaron, that there's nobody accountable for excellence when it comes to the sports programs in general, but specifically to the football. Everybody involved is getting paid, including the players now. But everybody from the coaching staff to the administrative, the fattest, most money-lined admin organization in UAA that I think exists in the SEC. Everybody is getting paid. Strickland gave himself an extension. Nobody over there is being held accountable for excellence in the football program. So what's the motivation to change? Annoyance at what we do? Maybe. So, I mean, they're going to get plenty of it if that's what it takes, because I think everybody's plenty annoyed at what's going on in here and had enough. But at what point is it enough for all of them to change what they do? Again, firing the coach and going through this cycle again 4 times in 11 years. Everybody with money on that side of the program should be taking a long look. But there's no accountability to excellence because the money's the same either way. Nobody cares because they don't have to care. There's no motivation to care. And that's a sad part of this entire cycle. You have to get lucky, like with Todd Golden in the basketball program. You have to get lucky for success because nothing those folks do that impact us, nobody with the power to change things is motivated to do so to chase excellence.
See, Jason, but to me, the basketball program is a perfect opportunity for Scott Strickland to say something like, we've shown the excellence in the basketball program, and that's what I'm looking for in the football program. I really don't know what he has to lose unless he thinks that somehow an interim would be even worse, and I can't imagine that. The money isn't an issue. The buyout money really isn't an issue. It's not like he's owed $100 million like Jimbo Fisher was. But we're in a situation now where other teams like Clemson and possibly Alabama maybe may also be looking for a coach. Boy, that's why I think we should fire him now, and he should start working the phones now.
Well, I think they should do that anyway because with Napier in charge of the offense, all these guys who are working their butts off, and I wouldn't say that anybody isn't. Nobody, I didn't see anybody quitting this week, which is one of the things we were looking for in there. But much like a lot of former athletes have said online since the end of the game, they just want to see these guys working hard, experience some success. They're not going to be able to do that with Billy Napier calling plays. So they should make that move independent from what any other schools are doing out there.
Well, we're going to find out. So this is our fourth coach in 12 years or whatever.
Well,
can we
let me
attract
make the point too that
coach?
he tried to do the thing he did with Golden. He tried to do with Napier. He got an up and coming guy who was a success in a smaller program and had a great plan. He invested all the money in the staff and allowed Billy to change everything, which frankly, after the Mullen rot, needed to be done. He did all that. And we see, one of the things, it's not a binary thing with Billy Napier. He has done some good things there. And we saw one last night in Cormati McLean making an unbelievable play on a terrible Carson Beck pass, but making an incredible play. That you can credit that to Napier and the culture he built, but he throws it all away with this incredible hubris and selfishness and the lack of urgency to win. So we've seen Strickland go this route. He just needs to do it again and maybe listen to some other folks in there. He's got 2 national championship coaches sitting there in the administrative office. Maybe see what they have to say about it. We might get a better offense in the door if that's the case, if he listens to Spurrier and Meyer, but we'll see.
I think he may have built a foundational structure of a decent program. The problem is I don't think he ever established a winning culture, that he was going to accept nothing less but a winning culture. You see what Kurt Segnetti did when he got to Indiana, and like he does with all his teams, is he basically, we're going to win, and that's the end of it. And that's what he tells the fans. That's what he tells his players. That's the expectations from day one. And I don't think Billy Napier ever established that. Ever. His demeanor is ho-hum. He acts like he doesn't care when we lose, whether he does or not. That's the way it appears. That has to rub off on the players.
That's right. Well, like I said, you go back to that introductory press conference. It tells you how bad the Mullen era was, that a lot of folks just kind of accepted, yeah, it's going to take some time. Because we knew things were bad from a roster construction standpoint, from the lack of intelligent recruiting, what was going on with the players getting parking tickets, like thousands of dollars, and parking tickets around campus. Billy changed that. as soon as he got there. There was a lot to go through, but we look back on it now in the context of history, and we see exactly what you're talking about. A fellow who's not in a hurry. There's no urgency to win, like you mentioned with Cignetti and coaches of that ilk in there. And we can see kind of this is who Billy is, and I don't think that even with that's why he needs to remove himself from the field as much as possible, because on the field it's urgency to win. And even Kirk Herbstreit pointed that out last night. He seemed annoyed at Napier. He's like, well, the defense is showing urgency, but I'm not seeing it on the offensive side. Yeah, exactly. In there. So, I think that the next moves, I think we have to endure a little more, and then we get back on the cycle. And then at that point, we'll see what Strickland does. But I will say this, Aaron, I don't think Scott Strickland is ever going to bring in a big name. I know people are going to want to get on the Lane train because we're desperate for somebody with swagger and offensive acumen to make the use of the talent in the state of Florida in there. Billy's coaching this, Iowa style, one score, shrink the game. Let's get 3 possessions a half. Billy, that's his mentality. I'm sure he was very thrilled to be close, within striking distance late in the game. If we just get a couple other things right in there. But I don't think Scott Strickland will ever bring in that big name, Aaron, because I don't think Scott Strickland ever wants to be pressured like a big name football coach would pressure you in there. Look at the pressure that Spurrier put on Foley so much. And Foley was as entrenched as anybody in there. There was constant that we would read about it. How, he was furious. Spurrier was furious. He was, he and Foley went at it inside the thing. I don't think Scott Strickland wants any of that. Again, one thing we know about Strickland, the path of least resistance. And he's not going to bring in a big name coach. He's going to go the Napier golden route and try to find somebody that, will simultaneously be modern, but not bring in a lot of baggage that Strickland is going to be accountable for.
Well, it used to be when there was when the program was down in the dumps, say back in the 80s, for example, you'd lose money because that you were hurt at the gate, you were hurt with merchandise, whatever. Now with TV money, it doesn't matter. The money
Everybody's getting paid. No, there's no financial incentive. Absolutely not. It's money. TV money has made accountability at this level, comical. There's nothing. You just take your buyout and you go, and everybody else is getting paid. Everybody's happy except the fans, who have to enjoy it, except for the players who don't get to experience that. Although the players now at least are getting paid to do it. Used to be they just take it in the shorts and the coach leaves and they're out of it. At least they're getting some money for it now. But the only people that really truly are affected are the fans.
So all the fans and the alumni can do is maybe fill up, Scott Strickland's inbox. That's the only card we have to play. But boy, if he lets Napier go, Jason, and hires another stiff, I don't know how much left we've got. But you had mentioned to me one time that's why Strickland can entertain the idea of taking 20,000 seats out of the swamp. What does he care? It's not about the gate anymore. It's totally it's a different mindset now.
Right. It's not even about competitive advantage, which we all, I think, at the heart of the swamp, we see it as a competitive advantage when it's filled and loud. Strickland didn't care about that. There's no urgency for we'll just take 20,000 seats away. The people that pay my bills, they're happy. The boosters themselves are happy. Oh, I get a much comfier chair now to watch this crap in there. But what do I care in there? And you have a lesser product because of it. We can see very clearly that all the folks that are in charge, everybody associated with the University Athletic Association and the football program and the school itself, nobody has any urgency for excellence on the football field. And I guarantee that bleeds over to the other sports as well. But the primary place we're going to see anything in this program is through the football program, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Well, you and I mean, 2 weeks from today, are we going to be having the same discussion when we come out and score one touchdown against Texas? It seems like That's the theme now. We get one touchdown a week. You know,
We're
hopefully
crossing our fingers that we don't break the streak. You know,
it's going to be a lot more fun when Napier's finally jettisoned, and you and I can discuss the coaching search. And everybody enjoys a coaching search until the awful hire is made. But until that hire is made, we have a great time in the Gator Nation. So hopefully, you and I will be able to have a few of those throughout the season instead of another one of these.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's a, you know, we'll always be there, right? I mean, this is what being a fan, for me being a graduate and having this as my alma mater, this, we go through it, highs and lows. That's why when you're in the middle of the good times, you embrace it. I feel like a lot of the folks associated with Gatorchatter and Gator Nation at large did truly love the Spurrier years. Yes, some folks were like way over the top in their expectations who joined in on the run, but those of us who endured the low spots of the 80s and folks before that as well, from the 70s, truly enjoyed the Spurrier era in there, and then got to enjoy the Meyer era for as short as that was in there as well. Enjoy the good times when they come, because in college football, there's plenty of these low spots in the road along the way. So hopefully you're right. Hopefully we get to engage in that. Aaron, hopefully folks get to kid you about Chip Kelly again in there and doing stuff like that. That's what makes it fun to speculate, because anything's possible when you start new. And, unfortunately for the fourth time in 11 years, I think we'll be starting new again.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're starting new with someone who can coach. That's that's all. Gosh, that's all we can ask for, man. That'd be a nice bonus, wouldn't it? Jason, thank you so much. We have a break next week, thank God. We'll we'll watch other football teams and see how they do. And but I'll see you back here in 2 weeks post Texas, and we'll see where we are. Thanks a lot, man.
See you. Go get.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining me this morning. If you want to like and subscribe to this video, there hopefully will be upcoming videos that have more interesting content, such as a coaching search. That's as we were talking about, that's a lot more fun. But in the meantime, we're just a bit of a broken record. Again, for the fourth time in 11 years, we're just a broken record. And boy, the fans. The point I made last week is the fans deserve better. They have been totally abused and continue to be abused. This product put in front of us and told to, here's the product and you're going to like it, and it's not fair to any of us. It's been going on way too long. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Enjoy a week off. Maybe I'll hang up here and I'll get on the internet and I find out that the Gators are holding a press conference at noon to jettison Billy. I don't think that's going to happen. So thanks everybody, and have a great week.